Hey, what's up? It turns out scallops taste very good, but most people have only had them in a restaurant, and that's a shame because it's actually super simple to make them yourself at home. So today I'm gonna show you how to buy scallops and how to cook them, and then a really simple sauce to serve over top that is certain to make anybody you know who eats them think you're very cool. The first option for buying scallops at home would be frozen. These are a 10 to 20 count, meaning about 15 scallops per pound, and cost-wise, they're $18 per pound. When buying frozen scallops, make sure that the only ingredient on the label is scallop. Bad frozen scallops are often soaked in a chemical called tripolyphosphate, and this makes the scallop absorb water, and when you thaw and cook that scallop, the water comes back out. This prevents caramelization and makes the scallop shrink when you cook it. To thaw these out properly, I throw them into a Ziploc bag and then under some cold running water into a container in the sink. This thaws them out in about 20 minutes, and once they're thawed, there's most likely going to be a bunch of water from the thawing process in the bag, as you can see here, and that's okay. Just make sure to dry them very, very well before we saute. In my opinion, a better option is to go with something like a U1012 dry packed fresh scallop. No phosphates added here either. I got these from my local seafood monger, Bob's Seafood in St. Louis, shout out. Fresh scallops as a product are just superior on every level to a frozen scallop, except for maybe convenience, and you pay for that superiority. These were over $30 for just 1 pound, which in this case was 12 scallops. But as you can see, they're pearly and firm, and they have a natural opaque color and texture. And compare those to these slightly more translucent frozen scallops over here after they're thawed. These are overall just a little bit waterlogged looking, in my opinion. If you don't trust your fish guy or you don't have one, frozen might be the better option. Just know that the deep sea flavor and the sweetness from the scallop is just so much more intense with a freshie. To get these scallops ready for the pan, I'm going to lay them out on a paper towel and get any last bits of moisture off. And you'll notice that little flap of muscle hanging off the side. That's called the abductor muscle, and it needs to be removed. It's quite tough and it's not very good to eat. So I'm gonna give that a quick little bris with the fingers, and there we go. Next, I'm gonna season both sides of this scallop liberally with coarse salt. Don't be shy, and I prefer Morton's brand kosher salt when it comes to seasoning proteins, by the way. I find that fine grind sea salt is just harder to gauge in terms of pinch size, in my opinion. Next, I need to preheat a large cast iron pan over medium-high heat. This pan is 12 inches, but a smaller pan will work. And then I'm going to load in a generous amount of high smoke point oil like canola or vegetable. This is close to 4 to 5 tablespoons because I want a solid layer of oil edge to edge. Once this pan is ripping hot and the oil is shimmering and just starting to whisper smoke, I'm going to lay in my scallops one at a time and give them a firm press into the pan as I lay them in. This ensures solid contact and gives a much more even sear overall. I want to mention that these scallops are going to cook quite quickly, so stay frosty, keep your eyes on the pan. Now we're going to check this sear after about 90 seconds or so, and as you can see, we have very evenly browned surfaces on every single scallop. The liberal amount of oil has allowed the sear to creep up the side a bit, and it gives us a little scallop crust situation. Very ideal. After about 90 seconds, we're going to flip these over and continue to sear on the other side. And I want to mention, you could easily cook a dozen or so of these at a time if you were trying to make scallops for a crowd. Just make sure that the pan is super hot so that when you add in a pound of cold shellfish, these things can still get seared. After about 60 seconds on the second side, you can see there is some solid color forming underneath. And now to finish, we're going to grab a sturdy long spoon and give these scallops a quick baste to finish them off. This basting is going to cook the unseared sides just a bit and also give these scallops just one last blast of high heat to take the chill off of the center. I like to cook a scallop to roughly medium temp or 130 degrees Fahrenheit. So this last step is going to get us there, and after basting for roughly 30 seconds, these are looking great. All of these scallops have a nice dark brown crust on both sides, and when I cut one in half, you can see the center has just a hint of translucence to it, and that means that it's medium-ish. That center is going to be tender and soft, and it's going to be a perfect counterbalance to that hard seared exterior. The move for cooking frozen scallops is exactly the same, but I did want to show you that a few of these actually shredded apart once they were thawed. Unfortunately, that's pretty common. The freezing process can kind of beat them up. You can still cook them. They'll be tasty. They're just a little bit sloppy looking, and they will dry out a little bit faster. Now, to turn these scallops into a finished thawed, I prefer to make a more scallop-centric variation on a pan sauce that most people are familiar with, and that sauce goes by the name of Scampi. So once the scallops are out of the pan, we're going to take a wad of paper towels and wipe it out very well. Get any super dark bits out of there, and then we're going to heat 30 grams of extra virgin olive oil. Once that oil is good and hot, next in is 40 grams of finely minced shallots. Behind that, 5 grams of garlic. That's roughly 2 whole cloves that I put through my garlic press. Then a strong pinch of chili flakes. Now, using a whisk for reasons that will become clear in a second, I'm going to stir everything up to combine and saute for about a minute and a half or until everything is just starting to go translucent. From there, I'll add in 3 grams of all all-purpose flour and whisk that into the shalloty oil. Yes, this is non-traditional for sure, but stick with me, we'll all become clear in a second. Once the raw of that flour has been cooked off for about 20 seconds or so, in goes 75 grams of good tasting dry white wine to deglaze, and I'm gonna bring that to a simmer and reduce it till it's almost dry again for about 30 seconds or so. Once you see the flour start to do a little bit of thickening, now we're gonna add in a special ingredient. 100 grams of clam juice. That's right, you can buy the liquid that comes out of a clam in the store, and it's pretty much the best tasting off-the-shelf seafood stock that I've found. It brings a bright, clear, crisp, sea-flavored brininess to whatever it's in, and it's perfect for shellfish. Now I'm gonna whisk in the clam juice and turn the heat down to super low, and once it's had about 20 to 30 seconds to reduce and thicken up just a bit, in goes 60 grams of cold butter, and I'm gonna whisk that in as well. Using cold butter like this helps us form an emulsion between the water and the clam juice and the fat from the butter more easily, and it keeps it all in suspension better than if we had just used warm butter. It also gives this sauce a nice silky body that's really quite elegant and very pro. Also, that tiny bit of flour that we added helps hold everything together and gives this sauce just a little bit of backbone, but it isn't enough flour for this thing to be gloppy or heavy. Off heat now, I'm gonna whisk in some lemon zest. That's everything from one small lemon grated on my microplane, and I prefer zest here instead of juice from the lemon because the wine we're using has plenty of nice mellow acidity to it, and the zest is gonna bring all the aroma that we want from the lemon without the sour. Finally, in goes 5 grams of chopped parsley and a strong pinch of salt, and I'm gonna stir everything up to combine. There we go, an upgraded scampi-ish sauce that's perfect for luxurious seafood. Use it for poached shrimp or even lobster, or serve it over some noodly pasta like spaghetti or linguine. Make a 2 times batch and really make sure that pasta is well tossed to coat. Either way, this is a simple dish that is usually reserved for a fine dining restaurant, and I hope now you feel more equipped to make it at home for someone that you really care about. It's sweet and bright and garlicky and tastes a lot like the sea. You know that I've got the rest of that white wine on the chill at the ready for this dish. It looks totally delicious. Let's eat this thing. Before I get out of here, a huge thank you to everybody who supports this channel on Ko-fi. Those donations go directly into helping me buy scallops for these videos. And as always, guys, thank you so much for your content. Nope, I'm the maker of the content. Thank you so much for your time and attention. Thank you for sticking around to the end. We'll see you next time.